We were close. We tried down in P9 as well. We just didn't quite have the magical race that we needed to get ahead of Alpine in the championship, but we finished where we deserved to finish.
Lando Norris is getting closer to leaving McLaren, especially now that the team has begun to disintegrate, with Seidel leaving for Sauber. Although he has a contract until 2025, the young Brit's frustrations are starting to grow more and more regarding the pace of the McLaren car. While many think that he's going to commit long-term to McLaren, Formula One is an evil world, and if a certain driver isn't given what he's asking for, he may as well leave the Woking-based squad for a better performing team, such as Red Bull. Both teams have the conditions needed to make this happen, and there are very turbulent times ahead of us regarding this conflict. Norris has joined McLaren in 2019, replacing Fernando Alonso and being placed with Carlos Sainz Jr. in his first season with McLaren. Both of them were responsible for McLaren's success in 2020, with the squad finishing P3 in the Constructors' Championship and being able to beat a controversial team in Racing Point and quite a competitive one in Renault. In 2021, Norris has shown that he does have the needed potential in order to become a champion one day, and while we were convinced in 2021 that McLaren is on the right path, we've been debunked in 2022. The disappointing performance in 2022 has led the media to believe that Norris's contract with McLaren could very well be over after 2025. Norris has spoken multiple times about his future with McLaren, further adding that beyond 2024 and 2025, the team will have no excuses and they need to be competitive. But with where McLaren is currently headed, we aren't really certain as to whether they'll show competitiveness in the following years, and now that they have Norris dissatisfied with the team, it's going to be an exciting and rather upsetting period for the Woking-based squad. The young and prospective Brit has spoken multiple times about the disappointment of McLaren in 2022 and the fact they've only had one podium finish, which only goes to elaborate on McLaren's problems in the upcoming years. When talking about this matter, Norris added that he isn't happy with just one podium finish, and the team's pace in 2024 shouldn't improve much given the fact that they haven't moved a muscle in 2023. With all of this in mind, one has to wonder, is Norris really on his way out of McLaren? He's been really good when it comes to battling with Ricciardo, eventually leading to the Aussie being replaced by Oscar Piastri. But now that the younger compatriot of Ricciardo is in the team, he has a mission in front of him, which is to prove that he's a future race winner and a champion one day. This is something that Norris has on his mission list as well, which is why we're due to see a proper fight between the youngest pairing on the grid. Eventually, things could spiral out of control between Norris and McLaren, and given the history of the team and their failure to live up to the challenge, Norris's frustrations could grow to the extent of him being traded to another team.
I think the whole season has just been a lot of ups and downs. Sadly, not enough ups.
You're the best of the rest outside the top three teams.
I hate that saying, to be honest.
I don't know
it's all I've heard this season.
And there is one team waiting for him right now, and that is Red Bull. The Austrian team does have a lot of trouble for itself when it comes to the drivers' pairing and the chemistry between Verstappen and Perez, so they could very well use a young and aspiring driver in Norris. So, is this happening anytime soon? According to recent reports, Red Bull has been advised to complete a buyout on Lando Norris's contract with McLaren and therefore replace Sergio Perez with a young and prospective Brit. Now, this could seem like a far-fetched scenario to many, but it's not that far from the truth. There have been lots of issues between Verstappen and Perez, and according to Damon Hill, Verstappen has already asked the team to replace Perez in the future. While he would prefer Ricciardo much more compared to Norris, it's evident that Norris would be the much better option for the Austrian team compared to the Aussie, given the fact that we've been able to compare both of their performances at McLaren in the previous 2 years. What goes into this story is that Norris stated that he enjoys cars with a lot of front end, which Red Bull can certainly provide. Unlike Red Bull, McLaren doesn't have this type of car, which is why Norris spoke multiple times about being unsatisfied with how the car has performed. Now, it's very evident that Norris won't leave McLaren in the next season, and it's likely that this scenario won't happen in the next 2 years because Norris publicly spoke about giving McLaren a chance until 2024 or 2025 before winning a race or potentially a championship. However, Perez's contract also ends at the end of the 2024 season, so the timing could be perfect as well. So what does Karun Chandok, who's a Sky Sports F1 pundit, have to say about this matter? I think Red Bull should be going hard to try and buy Lando Norris. He's got a contract at McLaren until the end of 2025. I wonder if he thinks that's too long. Simon Lazenby, a Sky F1 pundit, spoke about this with Karun Chandok, adding that there are some changes coming in Red Bull and that we'll see a lot of turbulence from the team that won 2 drivers' championships in a row. Ricciardo's already thinking about the time he stops racing. If he's thinking that, then Red Bull should be thinking it too. Personally, I would be trying to identify somebody else to come in. But one thing is for sure, being Verstappen's teammate is probably the hardest job that one would want to have. Sure, Red Bull does have the best machinery out there on the grid, and if there is a team that could provide a driver with the best chance of winning races, that has to be Red Bull. Unfortunately, Red Bull also has Verstappen, who doesn't seem to stop anytime soon. What he's done in Formula 1 in the previous 2 seasons is impeccable, and dethroning him would be a challenge that not many people can complete. This is something that Natalie Pinkham from Sky F1 also talked about, further adding, "But the problem is doing that, as we've seen with Gasly and Albon. It's like lambs to the slaughter. It's very difficult to be Max Verstappen's teammate. If you bring a rookie in too soon, it could crush their careers." Well, as of now, Norris does have 1 career pole position and was close to winning the race in Sochi as well. However, the rain had other plans for the 2021 version of this race, and Norris came close to winning a race in Monza as well that year, which was the race prior to Sochi. But the team didn't want to crush Ricciardo's spirits and gave the command to Norris to not fight and let Ricciardo win in order to bring back his confidence. We all saw how things turned out for Ricciardo and McLaren, and now that Norris is rumoured to leave the team, what does the young Brit have to say about this matter? They're clueless. I don't know why. Everyone thinks they know. He definitely could have gone here, he could have done that. But most of the time they know absolutely nothing. All these people coming up with these conclusions. I've played, let's say, a little bit more of a long-term game rather than a short-term. However, now that Seidel is gone from the team and Zach Brown has promoted Andrea Stella to the position, it's very interesting to see whether Norris will find his groove with the new team principal and the new challenges that the team is going to face from the 2023 season onwards. Martin Brundle believes that Seidel's departure from McLaren is a disaster for the team and for Norris, adding, "The big thing for McLaren is their new wind tunnel in 2024. So, Lando will be looking at it and thinking, why has Andreas jumped ship? What has Andreas seen at Audi that he much prefers to McLaren?" Obviously, it's going to be a very interesting period ahead for both teams, especially Red Bull, because the relationship between Verstappen and Perez is something that the team needs to fix soon rather than later. And the outcome could be very tragic for Perez. And now that Red Bull has multiple options and McLaren faces a difficult period with the new changes, we could see Norris in the team that tried to sign him back in 2017 and 2021. So, what do you think will happen next with Norris and McLaren? Do you think that with Seidel jumping ship, Norris could be the next to move away from the Woking-based squad and go for the win now situation with Red Bull? Let us know in the comments below.